When we talk about a silent mind, most people imagine a place where there are no thoughts at all, an empty head free from noise. But that's not what true silence means. Silence of the mind is not the absence of thoughts. It is the presence of awareness. Thoughts may still appear, but they no longer control you. They no longer drag you into endless cycles of overthinking. And the most direct path to this silence is mindfulness. Mindfulness simply means being aware. Being fully present with what is happening right now, without judgment, without resistance, without trying to change it. It is the opposite of the restless mind that is always wandering between the past and the future. A silent mind lives in the now. Think about it. How much of your mental suffering comes from the past memories, regrets, things you wish you had done differently, and how much comes from the future fears, worries, anxieties about what might go wrong? Almost all of it. The mind that is trapped in time is always restless, but when you anchor yourself in the present moment, you step into silence. The Buddha taught that mindfulness is like a lamp in a dark room. Imagine a room filled with clutter and the lights are off. You bump into things, you hurt yourself, you feel lost. That is the mind without awareness. But when you turn on the light, nothing has changed in the room. The objects are still there. But now you can see clearly. You don't stumble anymore. This light is mindfulness. It does not remove thoughts immediately, but it changes your relationship with them. For example, let's say you are sitting in meditation and a thought arises, I am not good enough. Without mindfulness, that thought takes you on a long, painful journey, memories of failure, comparison with others, hopeless feelings. But with mindfulness, you simply notice, here is the thought, I am not good enough. It is just a thought. You observe it as if you are watching a cloud pass through the sky. You don't fight it, you don't feed it, and slowly it fades away. That is silence. Mindfulness also teaches us that silence is not found outside. It is cultivated inside. Many people think, if only I could go to a quiet mountain or a silent retreat, my mind would be calm. But even if you go to the quietest cave in the world, you can still carry noise inside your head. True silence is not about external sound, it is about inner stillness. And mindfulness is the tool that brings you there, wherever you are. One simple way to practice mindfulness is through the body. When you walk, just walk. Feel each step. When you eat, just eat. Taste the food fully without distraction. When you breathe, just breathe. Notice the rise and fall of your chest, the coolness of the air entering your nostrils, the warmth as it leaves. Each time you bring awareness back to the present, you add one brick to the foundation of a silent mind. The more you practice, the more silence becomes your natural state. At first, it feels difficult because the mind is restless. It wants to jump. It wants to wander. But with patience, mindfulness becomes a habit. Slowly, you realize that silence is not something you have to create. It was always there. It was simply hidden beneath the noise. Mindfulness also reveals a deeper truth. You are not your thoughts. The restless mind identifies with every thought. This is me. This is my problem. This is my truth. But mindfulness gives you a small space, a gap where you can see, I am the awareness noticing this thought. In that moment, you step out of the prison of overthinking. You are no longer the prisoner, you are the witness, and this witnessing brings tremendous freedom. Suddenly, you are not drowning in life, you are watching life flow. You are not being pushed around by emotions. You are observing them rise and fall. You are no longer enslaved by noise. You have discovered silence. This is the power of mindfulness. It is not just a technique. It is a way of living, a way of walking through life with awareness, with presence, with peace. And the more mindful you become, the more powerful your silence becomes, because silence is not weakness, it is strength. It is the strength of someone who is no longer shaken by every wave of thought, no longer disturbed by every storm of emotion. So if you want to taste the power of the silent mind, start here. Start with mindfulness. Start with being present in this very moment. Start by noticing your breath, your body, your thoughts. Start by watching the mind instead of being the mind. Remember, mindfulness is the doorway. Walk through it, and you will discover a silence that nothing in the world can disturb. A silence that is always with you, even in the middle of chaos. A silence that is not empty, but full of life, full of clarity, full of peace. That is the first step to the power of the silent mind. A noisy mind is like a crowded room. Imagine a space filled with old furniture, broken objects, dusty boxes, and things you haven't touched for years. There's no room to breathe, no space to move, no peace to rest. This is exactly how most of our minds look inside, full of unnecessary clutter. Past regrets, future fears, grudges, doubts, endless what-ifs. We hold on to them as if they are treasures, but in truth they weigh us down. If we wish to discover the power of the silent mind, we must first learn the art of letting go. Letting go doesn't mean running away from life, nor does it mean suppressing your feelings. It means releasing what no longer serves you. It means choosing not to carry unnecessary burdens in your heart. Just as you clean your home to create space and freshness, you must clean your mind to create silence and clarity. The Buddha once said, holding on to anger is like grasping a hot coal with the intent of throwing it at someone else. You are the one who gets burned. This is the truth of mental clutter. We carry anger, we carry grudges, we carry jealousy, and we think these emotions punish others, but in reality they poison us. Consider this. How many times have you replayed a past argument in your head? The other person may have forgotten it, moved on with their life, but you are still carrying it like a heavy stone. This is mental clutter. When you cling to the past, your mind cannot be silent. It is stuck in replay mode, trapped in stories that are already over. And then there are worries about the future. The restless mind loves to create endless scenarios. What if I fail? What if they reject me? What if something goes wrong? But notice, 90% of the things we worry about never actually happen. We suffer more in imagination than in reality. This constant worrying is another form of clutter that keeps the mind noisy and restless. Letting go means trusting life enough to stop clinging. It means understanding that not everything is under your control, and that's okay. The rain will fall, the sun will rise, people will come and go, opportunities will appear and disappear. The silent mind accepts this flow, while the noisy mind tries to control every detail. But the truth is, control is an illusion. The more you try to control, the more anxious you become. The more you let go, the more peace you find. One powerful practice of letting go is forgiveness. Forgiveness is not about saying what happened was okay. It is about freeing yourself from the prison of resentment. When you forgive, you are not giving a gift to the other person. You are giving a gift to yourself. You are saying, I choose silence over suffering. I choose freedom over bitterness. Another practice is acceptance. Many people think silence comes when life becomes perfect, when all problems are solved. But perfection never arrives. The silent mind is not about fixing the world. It is about accepting it as it is. Acceptance does not mean passivity. It means meeting reality with clarity instead of resistance. When you stop fighting what is, you create space for silence. Letting go also means releasing attachment to outcomes. How often do we tie our peace of mind to success, approval, or recognition? I will be happy when I achieve this, when they love me, when I prove myself. But these conditions create chains. True silence is unconditional. It does not depend on external circumstances. It is the stillness that remains whether you succeed or fail, whether people praise you or criticize you. The Zen masters often say, let go or be dragged. This is the essence of silence. When you cling, life drags you with its ups and downs. When you let go, you flow freely with it. Think of a river. If you throw a stick into it, the stick doesn't resist. It flows. It doesn't say, I want to stay here. It simply goes where the current takes it. A silent mind is like that. It lets go of resistance and flows naturally with life. But letting go is not always easy. The ego loves to hold on, because holding on gives it identity. I am the one who was betrayed. I am the one who failed. I am the one who must prove myself. The ego feeds on these stories. But silence begins where the ego ends. To let go, you must loosen the grip of ego. You must ask yourself, do I want to be right or do I want to be free? Do I want to cling to the story or do I want to discover silence? Practical steps can help. When a thought repeats endlessly, write it down on paper, then consciously tell yourself, I release this thought. It does not define me. When an emotion arises, instead of fighting it, breathe into it, feel it fully, and then let it pass, like a wave dissolving back into the ocean. The more you practice, the lighter your mind becomes. Slowly, silence grows where clutter once lived. And you discover something beautiful. Letting go does not make you weaker. It makes you stronger. It does not make you careless. It makes you free. It does not empty you. It fills you with peace. So ask yourself today, what am I holding on to that I no longer need? What story, what regret, what fear, what bitterness is filling my inner space? And then take one small step to let it go. Even the smallest release creates space for silence, because silence is not about adding more. It is about subtracting what is unnecessary. It is about clearing the clutter so the natural peace of your mind can shine. Just like the sky is always clear above the clouds, your mind is always silent beneath the noise. Letting go is the way to see that sky again, and that is the second step to the power of the silent mind. One of the most profound teachings of the Buddha is the middle way, a path of balance that avoids extremes. At first, this teaching may sound simple, but when we apply it to the mind, it becomes a powerful key to silence. Why is the mind restless? Often because it swings between extremes. One moment we are chasing desires, money, success, recognition, pleasure, and the next moment we are drowning in self, denial, guilt, or fear. One day we are full of excitement, the next day crushed by disappointment. This constant swinging is noise. Silence cannot exist where there is no balance. The Buddha himself discovered the middle way through experience. Before enlightenment, he lived in two extremes. First, he grew up in luxury as a prince, surrounded by wealth and pleasure. But he found no peace there. Then he turned to extreme asceticism, starving his body, denying himself all comfort. But peace was not there either. Finally, he realized, truth lies not in indulgence nor in denial, but in balance. That balance became the foundation of Buddhism and the secret of the silent mind. So, what does this mean for us today? It means we must stop treating the mind like a battlefield. Many people think silence comes from forcing the mind. I must stop thinking. I must silence every thought. But this is an extreme, and extremes only create more tension. The other extreme is indulgence, letting the mind run wild, following every desire, drowning in distractions. That also leads to restlessness. The middle way is neither suppression nor indulgence. It is awareness with balance. For example, consider your relationship with technology. One extreme is overindulgence, scrolling endlessly, addicted to notifications, filling your head with noise. The other extreme is total rejection, running away, isolating yourself completely. The middle way is balance, using technology with awareness, but not becoming a slave to it. This balance creates space for silence or think of work. One extreme is overworking, chasing success at the cost of health and relationships. The other extreme is laziness, avoiding responsibility, escaping effort. The middle way is meaningful effort without obsession. It is working with dedication, but also resting with awareness. In that balance, the mind finds peace. Even in meditation, balance is the key. Some people push too hard, forcing concentration, which only creates frustration. Others are too lax, letting the mind drift endlessly. The middle way is gentle, discipline-focused, but relaxed. The mind is like a bird, too tight and its wings break, too loose and it cannot fly. Balance is what allows it to soar into silence. Another important aspect of the middle way is emotional balance. Many of us are trapped in extremes of emotion, anger or suppression, attachment or avoidance. When we feel anger, one extreme is to explode and harm others. The other extreme is to bury it inside, where it poisons us. The middle way is to acknowledge anger with awareness, feel it, and let it pass without clinging. This is how silence grows. In relationships, balance also matters. Some people lose themselves completely in others, living only for approval, forgetting their own worth. Others close their hearts completely, afraid of being hurt. The middle way is love with freedom, caring deeply, but not becoming dependent. When love is balanced, it brings peace, not noise. Why does balance bring silence? Because extremes always create tension. When you cling too tightly, you suffer. When you resist too strongly, you suffer. But in balance, there is acceptance. You stop fighting life, and silence naturally arises. The middle way also teaches us moderation in desires. The mind becomes noisy when it is never satisfied, always wanting more, chasing endlessly. But the mind also becomes noisy when it denies every natural need. Balance is knowing when enough is enough. Eating mindfully, living simply, finding joy in small things. When you stop swinging between excess and deprivation, your mind rests in silence. But balance is not something you achieve once. It is a practice. Life will constantly pull you toward extremes. The world is noisy, tempting you with desires and fears. But each time you return to balance, you return to silence. Each time you pause, breathe, and center yourself, you step back into the middle way. A silent mind is not about rejecting life. It is about living fully but with balance. You enjoy pleasures without being enslaved by them. You face challenges without being crushed by them. You work without burning out. You rest without guilt. This is the freedom of balance. Think of a musician tuning a guitar. If the string is too tight, it breaks. If it is too loose, it makes no sound. Only when it is balanced does it create beautiful music. The mind is the same. Silence is the music that comes when the strings of life are in harmony. So the next time you feel restless, ask yourself, am I living in an extreme right now? Am I clinging too hard or avoiding too much? And then gently guide yourself back to the center. That center is the middle way. That center is where silence lives. The silent mind is not about perfection. It is about balance, and the more you walk the middle way, the more you will discover that silence is not far away. It is always here, waiting in the center, waiting in balance, waiting in you. If there is one tool that is always with you, one practice that can guide you back to silence no matter where you are, it is the breath. The breath is simple, ordinary, always happening, and yet it is the most powerful doorway to the silent mind. Why? Because the breath is the bridge between body and mind, between the physical and the spiritual, between chaos and calm. Think of it this way: when you are angry, your breath becomes fast and shallow. When you are anxious, your breath is irregular and tight. When you are peaceful, your breath is slow, deep, and natural. The breath reflects the state of your mind. But here's the secret: the relationship goes both ways. Just as emotions change your breathing, conscious breathing can change your emotions. By calming your breath, you calm your mind. This is why the Buddha taught mindfulness of breathing as a core practice. He knew that the breath is always present, always accessible, and always able to guide us back into awareness. The breath, as an anchor, the mind loves to wander. It drifts into the past. It races into the future. It jumps from one thought to another like a monkey, swinging from branch to branch. But the breath is always in the present. You cannot breathe yesterday's breath, nor tomorrow's breath. You can only breathe now. So, when you place your attention on the breath, you anchor yourself in the present moment. You give the restless mind something simple, natural, and grounding to hold on to. Thoughts may still come, but your awareness keeps returning to the rise and fall of the breath. Slowly, the noise fades and silence appears. The breath as a teacher, the breath also teaches us about the flow of life. Every inhale is receiving, every exhale is releasing. Life itself is this balance, giving and letting go, expansion and contraction. When you become mindful of this rhythm, you realize that silence is not about holding on. It is about flowing with the natural cycles of existence. Notice how the breath never clings. It does not hold onto the inhale. It does not resist the exhale. It simply flows. If you try to hold your breath, you suffer. If you let it flow, you live. This is the wisdom of the breath. Silence comes when you stop fighting and allow life to move through you. Breathing as meditation. Many people think meditation means emptying the mind. They try to push thoughts away, and when thoughts keep coming, they feel like failures. But meditation is not about force. It is about gentle awareness, and the breath is the perfect object for this awareness. Sit quietly, close your eyes, notice your breath. Feel the coolness as you inhale, the warmth as you exhale. Notice your chest rising and falling. Do not try to control the breath. Do not try to change it. Just observe. At first, your mind will wander. That's okay. Each time you notice, gently bring it back to the breath. This practice is like training a puppy. At first, the puppy runs everywhere, but with gentle patience, it learns to stay. The more you return to the breath, the more the mind learns stillness. The science of breathing, even modern science, confirms what ancient monks already knew. Slow, deep breathing activates the parasympathetic nervous system, the body's natural relaxation response. It lowers stress, reduces blood pressure, and calms the heart. But beyond the physical benefits, conscious breathing creates inner space. It quiets the racing thoughts and opens the doorway to silence. Using breath in daily life, the beauty of breath practice is that it is not limited to meditation cushions or temples. You can use it anytime, anywhere. When you feel anger rising, pause and take 3 deep breaths before you react. Notice how silence softens the fire. When you are anxious, slow down your exhale, making it longer than your inhale. This simple rhythm sends a message of peace to your nervous system. When your mind is restless, practice box breathing. Inhale for 4 counts, hold for 4, exhale for 4, hold for 4. This brings balance and quiet. When you are overthinking, just return to natural breathing and remind yourself, I am here, I am alive, I am breathing. The breath is always a doorway back to the silent mind. Breath and awareness of impermanence. There is another profound teaching hidden in the breath: impermanence. Each breath arises and passes away. None can be held. Each one is unique, and yet they keep coming. When you observe this, you realize that thoughts are the same. They arise, they pass away. Just like the breath, they come and go. If you don't cling, they dissolve naturally. This insight is liberating. It shows you that silence is not about killing thoughts, but about letting them pass, just as you let each breath pass. Breath as life itself. Finally, remember this: the breath is life. The very first thing you did when you entered this world was inhale. The very last thing you will do when you leave is exhale. Between these 2 breaths is your entire life. So, to live mindfully with the breath is to live mindfully with life. Each breath you take with awareness is a moment of silence, a moment of gratitude, a moment of presence. And the more you collect these moments, the more silence becomes your natural state. Silence is not far away. It is as close as your next breath. Each inhale is an invitation to return. Each exhale is an opportunity to release. The breath is always whispering, come back, be still, be here. So, when the mind is noisy, when life feels overwhelming, when you are lost in overthinking, don't fight, don't run. Just breathe and let the breath lead you home to silence. One of the greatest secrets to silencing the restless mind is to realize a simple truth: thoughts are impermanent. They come, they stay for a moment, and then they go. But most of us forget this. Instead of seeing thoughts as passing clouds, we treat them as permanent realities. We grab them, we fight them, we believe them, we identify with them, and in doing so, we give them power they do not actually have. Imagine sitting by a river. Leaves float by on the water. Some are small, some are large, some are beautiful, some are ugly. They appear, drift for a while, and disappear downstream. This is the nature of thoughts. They arise in the mind, stay briefly, and dissolve. The problem is not the thoughts. It is our attachment to them. Instead of letting them float by, we jump into the river, chasing or resisting them. That is how noise begins. The trap of believing thoughts. The restless mind believes every thought is true. If a thought arises, "I am not good enough," the mind believes it and suffers. If another thought arises, "Something bad will happen tomorrow," the mind believes it and worries. But if you look closely, you will see that thoughts are not facts. They are temporary mental events. Think of the sky. Clouds form, change shape, and vanish. Some are dark, some are bright, but none stay forever. The sky itself is never harmed by them. Your awareness is the sky. Thoughts are clouds. Silence comes when you stop identifying with the clouds and remember that you are the sky. Impermanence brings freedom. When you realize thoughts are impermanent, you stop giving them absolute authority. You no longer panic when a negative thought arises because you know this too shall pass. You no longer cling desperately to positive thoughts either because you understand this too shall pass. This understanding brings freedom. You are no longer a slave to mental weather. Happiness and sadness, hope and fear, confidence and doubt, they all come and go. Silence is the space in which they appear and disappear. Watching thoughts instead of fighting them. The mistake most people make is trying to fight their thoughts. They want to stop thinking, but the more you fight, the louder thoughts become. It's like trying not to think of an elephant. Suddenly, the elephant is all you can think about. Instead, silence comes from watching thoughts without resistance. Sit quietly and observe. A thought comes, stays briefly, then goes. Another arises, then fades. When you watch instead of fight, you begin to see their impermanence clearly. You realize thoughts are like visitors. They come knocking, but you don't have to invite them in for tea. Practical practice. Labeling thoughts. One useful technique is labeling. When a thought arises, instead of being swept away, simply name it: planning, worrying, remembering, judging. This simple act of labeling creates space. You step back and see the thought for what it is: a temporary mental event, not ultimate truth. Slowly, silence grows in that space. Thoughts are not you. Perhaps the most liberating insight is this: you are not your thoughts. Most people live as if every thought defines them. I am anxious, I am weak, I am a failure. But notice the language, I am. This identification gives thoughts immense power. But through awareness, you begin to see the difference. There is the thought, and there is the awareness, noticing the thought. You are the awareness, not the thought. Thoughts come and go, but awareness remains. Silence is discovering this deeper identity. Impermanence in daily life. Consider a time you were heartbroken. At that moment you thought, "I will never heal. This pain will last forever." But today, that pain is lighter, or perhaps gone completely. The thought felt permanent, but it wasn't. Or think of a time you were deeply worried about something that never actually happened. The worry consumed you, but now it is just a memory. This is the proof that thoughts are impermanent. If you look back at your entire life, you will see a pattern. Every thought, no matter how heavy, has passed. Silence is simply remembering this truth in the present moment. The flow of thoughts. The Buddha taught impermanence as anicca, the truth that all things change. Thoughts are no exception. Just as seasons change, just as day turns into night, thoughts rise and fall. Silence comes when you align yourself with this flow instead of resisting it. Picture sitting by the ocean. Waves, rise, crash, and dissolve. You don't try to stop them. You simply watch. Thoughts are waves of the mind. They rise and fall naturally. You are the ocean, vast and silent beneath the surface activity. Letting go of identification when you deeply see impermanence. You stop attaching identity to thoughts. A thought of fear arises, you see it, you let it pass. A thought of joy arises, you enjoy it, then let it pass. You don't cling, you don't resist. Silence is born in this letting go. This is what great teachers mean when they say, don't believe everything you think. Thoughts are temporary guests. Silence is your true home. Applying this practice whenever a disturbing thought arises, pause and remind yourself, this is temporary, it will pass. Breathe deeply. Watch it without judgment. Imagine it as a cloud drifting across the sky, or a leaf floating on water. When joyful thoughts arise, enjoy them fully, but don't cling. Let them come, let them go. This way, your peace does not depend on thoughts. Your silence is unconditional. The power of this realization, the moment you truly understand the impermanence of thoughts, the grip of overthinking weakens. You stop drowning in endless loops. You stop fearing negative thoughts. You stop chasing positive ones. You rest in awareness, in silence, in the sky-like nature of your mind. This is freedom. This is peace. This is the power of the silent mind. When most people think of silence, they imagine emptiness, a blank space, a quiet desert, a void with no sound and no movement. But in the wisdom of Buddhism, true silence is not cold emptiness. It is warm, alive, and full of compassion. Compassion is the soft light that heals the restless mind. Without it, silence can feel like suppression, like pushing emotions away. But when silence is filled with compassion, it becomes healing. It becomes strength, peace, and freedom. Why the mind suffers without compassion, much of our mental noise, comes not from the outside world, but from the way we treat ourselves inside. We carry harsh self-criticism. I am not enough. I failed. I am broken. We replay mistakes, compare ourselves with others, punish ourselves for not being perfect. This inner cruelty creates noise, tension, and suffering. The mind without compassion is like a house with a cruel master always shouting, always criticizing. No matter how quiet the world outside, inside there is constant noise. Silence cannot grow in such an environment. But when compassion enters, the voice changes. Instead of harshness, there is kindness. Instead of judgment, there is understanding. Instead of punishment, there is forgiveness, and in this gentle space, silence blossoms naturally. Compassion as loving. Kindness in Buddhism, compassion is closely tied to metta, loving kindness. It is the practice of wishing well, both to yourself and to others, when you silently repeat, "May I be happy, may I be peaceful, may I be free from suffering." You are watering the seeds of compassion, and when you extend those wishes outward, may others be happy, may they be peaceful, may they be free from suffering, you dissolve the walls of separation. Suddenly, the noisy mind that was filled with anger, jealousy, and resentment softens. Silence arises when the heart is kind. Compassion towards yourself. Many people think compassion is something you only give to others, but the first step is compassion towards yourself. Without self-compassion, your mind is always restless, trapped in guilt, regret, and shame. Self-compassion means forgiving yourself for being human. It means understanding that mistakes are part of growth, that imperfection is natural, that failure is a teacher, not a curse. When you speak to yourself with the same kindness you would offer to a dear friend, the inner critic loses power. The mind grows quieter. Think of it this way: if a child falls while learning to walk, you don't yell at the child. You encourage them, you help them stand, you smile at their effort. Why not treat yourself the same way? Every time you stumble, practice compassion. Every time you fail, remind yourself, I am learning, I am growing, I am enough. This kindness is the soil where silence takes root. Compassion towards others' silence is also destroyed by resentment toward others. When you hold on to anger, jealousy, or hatred, your mind is noisy even if your surroundings are quiet. You replay conflicts, imagine arguments, feed grudges. But when you practice compassion towards others, resentment dissolves. You begin to see that everyone, even those who hurt you, is also suffering in some way. Their actions come from ignorance, fear, or pain. This understanding opens the heart, and where the heart is open, the mind grows silent. Compassion does not mean allowing others to harm you. It does not mean being weak. It means seeing the humanity in others while still protecting your boundaries. It means letting go of hatred so that you can rest in peace. The link between compassion and silence. Why does compassion create silence? Because compassion dissolves resistance. When you resist yourself judging, criticizing, hating, you create inner conflict. When you resist others blaming, resenting, envying, you create outer conflict. Both kinds of resistance fuel mental noise. But compassion is acceptance. It says, I am enough, and so are you. I forgive myself, and I forgive you. I choose peace over punishment. In that acceptance, resistance drops. Noise fades. Silence emerges. Compassion in daily practice. There are many ways to practice compassion in daily life. Morning intention. Before starting your day, place your hand on your heart and say silently, May I be peaceful. Today, may I meet myself and others with kindness. Compassionate breathing. When stress rises, inhale and think. Breathing in, I bring kindness to myself. Exhale and think. Breathing out, I send kindness to the world. Silent blessings. When you see someone, friend, stranger, even someone you dislike, silently wish them peace. May you be happy, may you be safe. Gentle self-talk. When you make a mistake, instead of harshness, speak gently. It's okay, I am learning, I forgive myself. Each act of compassion is like a drop of water calming the fire of noise. Slowly, the mind cools, the heart softens, and silence expands. Compassion and global silence. The world today is noisy, full of conflict, division, and suffering. Much of this noise comes from a lack of compassion. Nations fight, communities divide, families argue, all because people cannot see beyond their own pain. If compassion were practiced more widely, silence would not only fill individual minds, but also the world itself. Imagine a society where people understood each other's struggles instead of judging them. Imagine a workplace where kindness mattered as much as productivity. Imagine relationships where forgiveness replaced resentment. That collective compassion would bring collective silence. The strength in compassion. Some people think compassion makes you weak, but the truth is the opposite. It takes great strength to respond with kindness when you could respond with anger. It takes deep wisdom to forgive when you could cling to resentment. Compassion is not weakness. It is the highest form of courage, and this courage leads directly to silence. Because when you are compassionate, nothing disturbs you. Insults do not wound, failures do not destroy, mistakes do not define. You are at peace, both with yourself and with others. That peace is the essence of the silent mind. So, remember this, silence is not only about controlling thoughts, it is about softening the heart. And nothing softens the heart more than compassion. When you are kind to yourself, the inner critic grows quiet. When you are kind to others, resentment fades. When compassion fills the heart, silence fills the mind. We live in a world filled with noise. Notifications ring, conversations never stop. And even when the outside world is quiet, the inner world is loud. Thoughts run endlessly. What will happen tomorrow? Why did I say that yesterday? Am I good enough? Will I succeed? But meditation is the ancient practice that teaches us to enter a different space, the space of pure silence. In meditation, silence is not forced, it is discovered. It is already within us, waiting behind the noise, like the clear sky hidden behind clouds. What meditation really is, many people misunderstand meditation. They think it means sitting with closed eyes and trying to push thoughts away. But that is not meditation, that is struggle, and struggle only makes the mind louder. Meditation is not about controlling the mind, but about observing it. It is the art of sitting in stillness and watching thoughts come and go without clinging, without judgment. Slowly, through this gentle watching, the mind begins to settle. Thoughts lose their grip, emotions soften, and silence rises naturally. The Buddha himself described meditation as the direct path to liberation, not liberation from life, but liberation from the chains of restlessness, overthinking, and suffering. Why silence cannot be forced? Think of a pond with muddy water. If you stir it, the water only becomes cloudier. But if you let it sit quietly, the mud sinks to the bottom and the water becomes clear. The mind is the same. If you fight with it, try to stop thinking, or force yourself into silence, the mind becomes more restless. But when you simply sit, breathe, and observe, silence emerges by itself. Meditation is that still sitting, the patient waiting for the mud to settle. The breath, a bridge to silence, one of the simplest and most powerful meditation techniques, is watching the breath. Why? Because the breath is always here, in the present moment. It is neutral, natural, and constant. When you sit quietly and bring your attention to your breathing, each inhale, each exhale, you anchor yourself in the now. Thoughts may still come, but your focus on the breath makes them softer, less urgent. Slowly, they fade into the background like distant echoes. With each mindful breath, silence grows deeper. The noise of yesterday and tomorrow dissolves, leaving only this moment, alive, fresh, peaceful. Meditation as returning home in our busy lives. We are always running, chasing goals, avoiding fears, pleasing others, escaping discomfort. But meditation is the opposite. It is not running, it is returning home. When you meditate, you come back to yourself. You rest in your own being without needing to achieve, perform, or prove anything. This homecoming is silence, the recognition that peace is not outside you, but within you. Common obstacles in meditation. Silence in meditation does not always come quickly. Many people sit down to meditate and feel frustrated. My mind is too noisy. I cannot do this. But this is normal. The restless mind is like a wild horse. It does not become calm in one moment. It requires patience, gentleness, and consistency. Here are some common obstacles. Restlessness. Thoughts run wild. The solution is not to fight them, but to gently return attention to the breath or body. Sleepiness. Sometimes the mind drifts into drowsiness. This means you may need more rest in daily life or a more alert posture in meditation. Impatience, wanting quick results, creates tension. Remember, silence cannot be rushed. It comes naturally with time. Self-criticism, thinking I am failing at meditation, is itself just another thought. Recognize it and let it pass. The secret is consistency. Even a few minutes daily builds the muscle of silence. The fruits of meditation. As meditation deepens, silence becomes more than just an experience during sitting. It begins to overflow into life, emotional calm. Instead of reacting instantly to anger, fear, or stress, you notice them, breathe, and respond calmly. Clarity of mind. When the noise fades, wisdom appears. Decisions become clearer, insight sharper, compassion and connection. In silence, you realize you are not separate from others. Compassion grows naturally. Freedom from overthinking. The cycle of worry and regret weakens. You live more in the present, less in the prison of thought. This is why the Buddha called meditation a path to liberation. It liberates you from being a prisoner of your own mind. Meditation beyond sitting. Formal sitting meditation is powerful, but silence can also be practiced in daily life. Walking meditation. With each step, feel the ground beneath you. Walk slowly, breathing deeply, aware of each movement. Eating meditation. When you eat, eat with full awareness. Taste each bite, chew slowly, be present. Listening meditation. When someone speaks, listen fully without planning your response. Hear their words as if they are the only sound in the world. Work meditation. Whatever task you do, do it fully. Bring your whole attention to it without distraction. Each of these is meditation. Each is silence in action. Meditation as awakening. In deep meditation, silence becomes more than calmness. It becomes awakening. You begin to realize that you are not your thoughts, emotions, or stories. You are the awareness beneath them, the stillness that watches. This realization is liberation, because when you know you are the silence, thoughts lose power. They may still come, but they no longer control you. You remain free, unshaken, at peace. A practice for you here is a simple meditation practice you can try today. Find a quiet place. Sit comfortably with your back straight. Close your eyes gently. Take 3 deep breaths, relaxing with each exhale. Now, simply notice your natural breathing. Feel the rise and fall of your belly, the air entering and leaving your nose. When thoughts arise, do not fight them. Just notice them, then return to the breath. Sit like this for 10 minutes. End by placing your hand on your heart and silently saying, "Thank you. May I be peaceful. May all beings be peaceful." If you do this daily, even for just a few minutes, silence will grow inside you. So, remember, meditation is not about emptying the mind. It is about discovering the silence that has always been there. The more you meditate, the more you live in that silence, not just during practice, but in every moment of your life. Meditation is not an escape from the world. It is a way to enter it fully, with clarity, compassion, and peace. That is the gift of the silent mind. Most people believe that wisdom comes from thinking, analyzing, planning, calculating, and solving problems. And yes, the human mind is a brilliant tool, capable of extraordinary achievements. But there is a deeper truth that the Buddha and countless sages discovered. True wisdom does not come from endless thinking. It comes from silence. When the mind is noisy, it cannot see clearly. It is like looking into a pond during a storm. Waves are crashing, mud is rising, and everything is distorted. But when the pond becomes still, the water reflects the sky with perfect clarity. The same is true with the mind. When it is silent, wisdom awakens naturally without effort. The limitations of thinking the human mind is like a knife, sharp and useful. But a knife can only cut. It cannot plant, nurture, or heal. Thinking is the same. It can analyze the past, calculate the future, and solve practical problems, but it cannot touch the deepest truths of life. Thinking is bound by memory and imagination. It works with what it already knows, but wisdom is not limited to memory. Wisdom sees directly, beyond words, beyond concepts. It is like the difference between reading about the taste of honey and actually tasting it. Thought can only describe. Wisdom allows you to experience. Silence as the space of insight in silence. The mind is no longer cluttered by chatter. And in that openness, insights arise suddenly, like a flash of lightning. These insights are not created by thinking. They are revealed when thinking steps aside. Have you ever noticed how solutions often appear when you stop struggling with a problem? Perhaps you are trying hard to remember a name, but the harder you think, the further it slips away. Then, when you relax and let go, the name pops into your mind naturally. This is the power of silence. When the effort of thinking relaxes, wisdom flows in. The Buddha's discovery, the Buddha himself reached enlightenment not through endless analysis, but through silence, deep meditation, stillness, and direct experience. He discovered truths about suffering, impermanence, and liberation that no amount of debate or philosophy could reveal. His wisdom did not come from more thinking. It came from seeing reality as it is. This is why Buddhist teachings often say, don't look for the truth in words, look for it in silence. The voice of intuition beyond thoughts. Another voice emerges, the voice of intuition. Intuition is not random guesswork. It is a deep knowing that arises from silence. It is the wisdom of the heart, the natural intelligence of life itself. When you live only in thoughts, intuition is drowned out. But when the mind is silent, intuition speaks clearly. It guides you toward what is right, what is compassionate, what is true. It may not always follow logic, but it resonates with clarity. Great leaders, artists, and saints have always drawn upon this silent wisdom. Einstein once said, "The intuitive mind is a sacred gift, and the rational mind is a faithful servant." But in our world, we have created a culture that worships the servant and forgets the gift. Silence restores that balance. Silence in daily decisions. How can this wisdom beyond thoughts help in daily life? Imagine you are facing a difficult decision, choosing a career path, ending or starting a relationship, or making a life change. If you only rely on thinking, you may feel trapped, going in circles, weighing pros and cons endlessly. But if you take time to sit in silence, to meditate, to breathe, something shifts. The noise of fear and desire quiets down, and a deeper knowing begins to emerge. It may come as a feeling of lightness when considering one path, or a sense of heaviness when considering another. This is not logic, it is wisdom. Silence does not always give immediate answers, but it creates the inner space where answers can arise naturally. The birth of compassionate wisdom, true wisdom, is not cold or detached. It is always infused with compassion. When silence awakens within, you begin to see not only your own suffering, but also the suffering of others. This vision does not come from analyzing or judging. It comes from direct perception. You realize that just as your mind struggles, so do the minds of others. This understanding softens the heart. From silence, compassion flows effortlessly, like a river. And when wisdom and compassion unite, they create the deepest form of guidance, one that is both clear and kind. Beyond duality, seeing reality clearly, the thinking mind always divides. Good and bad, right and wrong, success and failure. But wisdom beyond thoughts sees the whole picture. It recognizes that life is not a war of opposites, but a dance of interconnection. For example, thinking may label a failure as bad, but wisdom sees that failure often carries hidden lessons, strength, and new opportunities. Thinking sees fragments, wisdom sees the whole. This is why silence is so powerful. It dissolves duality and reveals reality as it truly is, interconnected, flowing, and whole. Practicing silence for wisdom. How do we awaken this wisdom beyond thoughts? By creating moments of stillness in our lives. Meditation. Sit daily in silence, observing the breath. Let thoughts rise and fall without clinging. Over time, silence deepens and insights emerge. Nature. Spend time in nature without distraction. Listen to the wind, the birds, the rustling leaves. Nature speaks in silence. Pausing. Before making important decisions, pause. Breathe, give space for silence to guide you. Listening deeply when others speak. Listen without preparing your response. Listen from silence, and true understanding will grow. Each of these practices opens the door to wisdom beyond the busy mind. Living with a silent mind. When silence becomes part of your life, wisdom begins to flow naturally. You may notice you react less and respond more. You cling less to worries and fears. You feel more connected to people and the world. You see clearly what matters and what doesn't. The silent mind is not empty, it is full of clarity, peace, love, and wisdom. Final reflection. The power of the silent mind is not just about peace, it is about awakening. It is about discovering a dimension of yourself that is vast, wise, and free. Beyond thoughts lies a silence that is not passive but alive, not empty but overflowing with insight. When you live from this silence, you move through life with clarity and compassion. Challenges no longer overwhelm you, decisions no longer confuse you, and suffering no longer defines you. Instead, you live with wisdom, the wisdom that arises not from thinking, but from seeing, being, and awakening.